Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to another episode of The Spread. This is your guest host, Big Easy, in the studio with our senior baseball analysts, J Dash and JK47. We're going to continue to break down the NL East for you. We've already spoken about Philadelphia and how they really ain't got much going on except for their pitching staff, maybe. Future, yeah. Miami, that they're capable.
They look pretty solid.
Of winning some games.
And the Atlanta Braves, they're sort of like the Phillies, more looking towards the future.
Almost the potential to be the worst team in all of baseball, Atlanta.
Possibly.
And now we're going to talk a little bit about the Washington Nationals and how they pretty much flopped last year, right?
For what people expected, I mean, everyone went into the season. Well, not everyone. I should say a lot of people believed that they were World Series favorites for the National League, and it just didn't turn out that way. The Mets were able to stay in until the deadline, made some big moves, and was able to win that division and go to the World Series. But the Washington Nationals, I mean, they still look like a very good team to me. A couple signings they made this offseason. They brought in reliever Oliver Perez. He's still a pretty decent reliever. I know Pirates fans remember Oliver Perez and thinks he stinks, but he's actually a pretty decent reliever these days.
How old is he, 50?
No, he's not 50 years old. It does seem like a long time ago that he was a Pirate, though. But they signed reliever Yusmeiro Petit, as well as relievers Burke Badenhaupt, Matt Bilal, Sean Kelly, Juan Gutierrez. Now that Bilal signing was a minor league contract, but he could still make the team here in camp. A couple other signings. They signed infielder Steven Drew and second baseman Daniel Murphy. That's probably their biggest signing, I would say. Wouldn't you, 47, bringing in Daniel Murphy to play second base?
Well, it's definitely good. If he hits like he did in the playoffs,
I think he's a very good second baseman. He may not be great in any one category, but he's solid all around, and I think he's still one of the better second basemen in baseball, at least offensively. Another big move they made, at least I believe it's a big move. They traded for Ben Revere. I'm a big Ben Revere fan, and he's going to be playing in the outfield for him this season. He doesn't have the biggest arm or anything. That's his downfall, but he hits around 300 most seasons, and he has big speed. They gave up Drew Storm for him to the Blue Jays, and they made a trade for another relief pitcher, Trevor Gott. Gave up Yunel Escobar to the Angels for him. Now, Escobar, probably the better player in that deal, obviously, but the way their team's set up right now, Escobar was the odd man out. A couple of their losses, they lost two of their pitchers, Jordan Zimmerman and Doug Fister. Those are somewhat big losses, I would say. Mostly Jordan Zimmerman, not necessarily Doug Fister, but I think they have, obviously they have one of the top pitching prospects in all of baseball as well. And if you look at their rotation right now, it doesn't look bad either. So I think they can get by without Jordan Zimmerman, and that's not going to be that big of a deal moving forward. But they lost outfielder Denard Span to free agency, shortstop Ian Desmond, who recently signed to play the outfield for the Texas Rangers, and a couple of relief pitchers, Casey Jansen and Matt Thornton. A couple unsigned players, Nate McLouth and Dan Uggla. I do not think they signed yet.
It's getting ugly.
Believe it.
Is he worth anything anymore?
Dan Uggla, I mean, he's a terrible hitter. He had that, 40-some game hitting streak going? It's pretty much all he had in a long time since he was a Marlin, really. When he was a Marlin, he looked pretty good.
he's always hit a lot of home runs. As far as being an actual good hitter, he was never really that good at all.
I mean, he strikes out way too much. Some seasons he's under 200 with his average.
And our good old boy Nate McLouth, he's probably a millionaire. Should be a millionaire, right?
I would believe so, if he invested correctly.
Then he should just hang him up then. Relax,
yeah,
player.
I think he should hang him up as well.
Oh, yeah? You serious?
Yeah, Nate McLouth, I think his days are over.
Yeah, where's he been? He's been to, five different teams?
Oh, yeah, he's been around. He was playing there for the Orioles for a while. Who else did he play for, man? The Braves, he was with them at one point.
That's 4. Okay.
Can't remember. Nate McLouth, garbage. But you take a look at this outfield. Obviously, your star player, Bryce Harper, MVP. This guy was a monster last season. Unfortunately, I don't think you can expect that out of any person, any human being in back-to-back seasons, really. So you got to expect some kind of a step back, but not necessarily a huge one. And this guy is obviously one of the best players in all of baseball still. Center field, Ben Revere. I would believe so. Now, like I said, he doesn't have a big arm, so I don't know if center's the best place for him, although he does have huge speed, so he can cover a lot of ground out there. But you got Jason Worth out there as well, and he really needs to stay healthy. This guy can really produce if he's just able to stay healthy.
He's starting to get a little bit older now.
He is getting older. I mean, his numbers have definitely dropped off from when he was playing in his days in Philadelphia. But, I mean, he still can produce if he can just stay healthy, I believe. But you may see him get some rest this season as well. They got a cut. Clint Robinson has actually played pretty well for him last season. You look, he hit 272 with a 358 on base, 10 jacks, and 309 at bats. So that's not terrible either. They have him as a fourth outfielder. They have that Michael Taylor, still a young guy, strikes out way too much. But, I mean, if he can cut down on the strikeouts, take a couple more walks, we've seen in the minor leagues, Taylor can hit very well, and he could actually be a 30-30 guy if he could just be a little bit better of a hitter. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I always had questions about that, but it looks like they have some depth out here in the outfield, and the infield looks pretty good to me too, especially considering you got Danny Espinosa at shortstop. I think everyone knows that that's not their future there, although he's not a terrible player or anything, maybe league average. But Trey Turner, a top prospect, that's their future, and this guy, I mean, he looks like he's going to be a beast. He had 40 at-bats in the majors last season, hit just 222. But in the minor leagues, I mean, you look, he hit 322 with a 370 on base between Double-A and Triple-A in the Padres and National system. He actually was dealt to him last season. 31 stolen bases between the three levels. So this guy has very good speed. He has pretty good pop for a shortstop as well. And he just looks like one of those all-around good players as well. And I'm excited about this guy, actually. So Trey Turner at shortstop is definitely the future. And you got Rendon at third base. This guy's a beast, but he had a bad season last year. Some injuries included in that. We'll have to see. Can he get back to what we've seen from him in 2014? What do you think about Rendon?
I love him. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's one of the people that actually made or broke the team last year. I mean, they struggled to score runs at times. And definitely him being out of that lineup, definitely had something to do with it. I mean, the same could be said for Ryan Zimmerman, who's you go across the corner. The two of them combined for just 175 games played last year. Zimmerman playing in 95, Rendon playing in 80. So, I mean, all in all, a very, very good-looking infield. And you got to like it even more whenever they got Daniel Murphy added at second base.
Please believe it.
I mean, this guy's going to give you a solid bat at the top of the lineup, somebody that's going to get on base in front of these big mashers.
Yeah, where would you bat him? Second in the lineup?
I'd have to go second. I'd put Revere, then him. Then I'd go Harper.
Then Rendon? Zimmerman? Worth? A lot of options there. I don't think I'd go Worth fourth.
I'd like to go Rendon.
Yeah, me too. If he's healthy and back playing like himself, that's who I'd definitely go with. Rendon is one of my favorite players in baseball, actually. But Ryan Zimmerman on the other side, who you mentioned, he's not that great defensively. But when he's healthy, the same thing, like you were saying. If he can stay healthy, he's a pretty good hitter. So we'll have to see what we get out of him this season. But don't expect too much defensively, obviously. They also got that Tyler Moore. He can play in the outfield. He can play some first base. Clint Robinson can play a little bit of first base as well. They have Steven Drew as a backup, like I was saying before, and Espinosa is probably going to be a backup at some point when Trey Turner comes up. So they have options. Plus, there's that young infielder, Wilmer Defoe. He's 23, hit 286 with a 352 on base, 30 stolen bases, but just 20 walks compared to 92 Ks and 434 bats. The strikeouts ain't bad, but he needs to take more walks, obviously. That was between high A and double A. And he may be their future at second base. He is good enough to maybe stick as a starter. But if not, he could turn into a very good utility infielder as well. So they have a lot of options with this guy. Maybe if something happens here in the infield, somebody doesn't work out, Wilmer Defoe might be the guy to get the shot. Or if Daniel Murphy doesn't stay with this team long term, I think Defoe might slot in at second base in the future as well. We'll have to see what happens.
Is he related to William Defoe?
I doubt that, no. But they also have a third baseman, Drew Ward. I was kind of high on this guy 2 years ago. He had a horrible season last year. I kind of doubt you're going to see him this season now. I think he's more of a future piece as well, and who knows, he may not work out at this point. We'll have to see. But then you go to catcher and you got Wilson Ramos, another guy just like Rendon and Zimmerman. Now you're asking yourself, can this guy stay healthy? Because he can be one of the better hitting catchers in baseball when he stays healthy. This guy got some serious power if he can just get 400 at bats, and that's usually not going to happen with this guy. But they also got Jose Lobaton as a backup as well. So they got a lot here offensively, and just like last season, I like how it looks. Well, they just need to stay healthy and put it together this season.
As you were just saying, I love this team on paper. On paper, they look fantastic.
Right.
Especially from the offensive side. The fact that they lacked to score runs last year actually kind of baffled me in a way. I mean, I know there were key players out with injuries at certain points. I mean, it just turned out that Bryce Harper just couldn't get it done by himself.
Yeah, I mean, he really tried to, though. He almost got it done by himself, if you really think about it. But then you look at this rotation. Last year, again, this rotation really didn't live up to the standards they set before the season, although they weren't terrible. You got Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg still, Gio Gonzalez still. Joe Ross, a young guy, made his debut, I think, was last season. I don't know if it was his debut. It was definitely his rookie season, and he looked very good as well, although he did kind of tail off a tiny bit. But this guy looks like he's going to be a very good pitcher as well, and he could be as high as a number 2 probably as well. Tanner Roark is probably going to fill out the rotation, but like I said, they got one of the top pitching prospects in all baseball, Lucas Giolito, 21 years old. He had a 3.15 ERA last season, 117 innings pitched, 113 hits, 131 Ks compared to 37 walks between high A and double A, and he throws mid to high 90s. He's one of those big power pitchers, and right now, I mean, he's a top 5 prospect, and he's definitely going to be a good pitcher. How good? I mean, he might not be an ace. Who knows? He might be a number 2, number 3. But right now, it looks like he is going to be an ace, and that's just another piece to this rotation that is going to look sick by season's end if he does get caught up, which we both said before we think he's going to.
Well, they're definitely going to need him to step in and fill in at some point or another. I mean, Rourke and Ross are not. They do have potential to be very good at the same time. Is that really what you want to trust your rotation to, especially when you might not have Strasburg for a good part of the year if he can't stay healthy? Gio Gonzalez, he took a step back last year.
Yeah, he did, but I'd trust him as number 3.
Really want Giolito to come up there, though, and probably be that guy at some point or another this season.
I mean, he doesn't have to be the guy necessarily. You still got Max Scherzer. That guy's still a beast. But, I mean, you want him to step in there and pitch like a number 2 or number 3 for sure, at least this season, and then hope for better in the future. But they also have another starting pitcher in the minors. He's less known, Austin Voth, 23 years old. He's not great or anything. He's probably more of a number 3 or 4, but he still looks pretty decent. A 2.92 ERA last season in Double A and 157 innings pitched, allowed just 134 hits and 40 walks, and had 148 Ks. This guy, like I said, he looks like a pretty decent pitcher as well, and this is a guy I've been watching for the past couple of years, hoping he'd get his chance here soon, and it looks like he may this season. And really, there may not be room for him, though, because I believe in Joe Ross. I think this guy's at least a number 4 this season, and then when Giolito comes up, I mean, as long as they stay healthy, obviously, I think this rotation's going to look beast. You got Papelbon in the back end of the bullpen. I'm not saying this
washed up.
Nah, I wouldn't say he's washed up. He's still a pretty good closer, man, but he's just not one of the top 5 anymore, I would say. But
seems to be a clubhouse nuisance, too.
Yeah, I guess he is a douchebag, but whatever. But I'm not going to say this bullpen's beast or anything. I mean, you got Aaron Barrett, Sean Kelly, Oliver Perez, Yusmeiro Petit. But one guy I do like is A.J. Cole. This guy was supposed to be a starter at one point. He's still a young guy, and it doesn't look like they're going to put him in the rotation anymore just because of everything they have there. They still have a couple guys in the minors. They move him to the bullpen, so I like that guy, and maybe he can push his way to the back end of the bullpen at some point as well. But from top to bottom, man, I think the Nationals are going to be good, and they're going to be in a playoff race this season. They have to be better than last season. Even if this team may not look as good as last season, although I think it still looks pretty good. I think the rotation may have looked better last season. But I still think they're going to be a better team than last year.
Yeah, for sure. They have the pieces there, and it was just unfortunate last year because with that season Harper had, man, I see them winning this division, easily by 5 or 6 games.
New York Mets, not feeling them.
Not feeling it.
I mean, the New York Mets have a serious rotation as well.
Well, one thing actually, too, we're going to have to look to that we actually haven't really covered on is Dusty Baker becoming our manager now and then firing Matt Williams in the offseason.
Good old Matt Williams.
96 games the previous year, only, 83 last year?
Is that what it was, 83 games?
Something like that.
It was definitely a letdown. I think I had him as my choice for...
Oh, I think we all did, probably. Yeah. I didn't even think anybody would come close to challenging him in the East, to be honest.
I'm not ready to say Anthony Rendon's injury prone, though, yet, either. I think he just had a season where he got hurt. That doesn't necessarily mean you're injury prone.
Well, he's definitely missed time to injuries, like his...
Yeah, but he's still a young guy, man. He has time to shed that label.
And good old Strasburg is still putting in work out there, or what?
He looked good to close out the season.
Yeah, I mean... We'll have to see. He still has to pitch a full season, you know what I mean, and be good. But he still looks like an ace to me. I mean, to me, you got 2 aces on this staff. And then after that, we'll have to see. Like I said, Joe Ross could turn into a very good pitcher as well. And I think Giolito is going to be an ace. So you might have 3 aces on this staff by season's end if Giolito hits the bigs running. But I'm going to say the Washington Nationals outdo the Mets as well and take first place in this division.
Hey, now. 2 for 2.
JK47 even has his Nats hat on today.
I do have my Nats just because it's, I don't know, I like it.
Because we were talking Nats, man. You're feeling it.
Because you enjoy it.
But I don't know. I still think that the Mets overall have the better pitching.
Me too.
The Mets, I mean, we're not talking about the Mets, but I'm just saying why the Nationals aren't going to win this division this year. I think they're going to finish in second place. It's going to be tight. I think they're going to win about 88, 89 games. They have a potential to win up into the mid-90s.
Yeah, definitely.
But if they don't stay healthy, which I don't see that whole roster being on the field together very long.
Yeah, I think Zimmerman, Worth, and Ramos are the biggest questions for sure. But like you said, Rendon as well.
And above that, if it's going to be an up season, I think not having Jordan Zimmerman is going to hurt a little bit.
Yeah, we'll have to see when Giolito gets called up as well, if they wait till later in the season or if they do it kind of early, maybe in early June or something.
Well, I mean, if you would make your team better, I don't see the point of keeping them down there.
Yeah, teams like to have that extra year of control, though, so you got to understand it.
Even if it would cost you a potential playoff or World Series?
I mean, I get your point, man. I see both sides of the story, but there's also, I mean, the percentages that go up from just adding one guy are really, I mean, it's still a very small percentage. But, it does increase your chances, don't get me wrong. But I'd say less than 4% for just one guy, you know what I mean?
And I do like this baseball team, though. They look great.
Yeah, they do. So first place from me and Easy. Second place from JK47. From top to bottom, this team looks good. Just got to stay healthy. I think the rotation is going to maybe even outdo last season's rotation, although it looked better last season. I think they were a little bit of a letdown as well, and I think Gonzalez bounces back. Ross with a full season, I think, is going to be a little bit better as well when they get Giolito up. But I see big things from Washington this season. What do you think, though, 47? Wild card? No wild card for them. Not feeling it. That Central Division's taking wild cards, huh?
I think the wild card is going to be between Washington, Pittsburgh, and possibly L.A.
You don't think L.A.'s going to win the division?
I do not.
Dang.
So the Cardinals ain't going to do nothing then?
They're going to win the division.
So the Cubs ain't going to do nothing
yeah,
then?
I guess I could mention the Cardinals in that.
You don't know what? You don't have no idea.
You have no idea, 47, what is going on there.
No, I mean, it's definitely going to be a race between...
there's a lot of good teams
There's no
here.
way that Chicago's not taking the NL Central.
I disagree.
Hey,
I think the
now.
Cardinals are going to win.
Hey, now.
I think the Cubs are going to come in third place, to tell you the truth. Although we shouldn't say it now. I was going to wait for the Central segment.
On a quick note, they actually made a couple cuts today. They sent left-hander Matt Grace, right-hander Taylor Jordan to AAA Syracuse.
You beat nuts.
And infielder William Defoe, I think is
Wilmer Defoe. Yeah, that's that prospect I was talking about.
William Defoe. They've optioned him to AAA.
Yeah, makes sense. He wasn't going to make this team.
And that's it. Fans, if you got any comments or questions, you can hit us up on Twitter at @bet_the_spread. You can go to Facebook, like that Facebook page, or subscribe to that YouTube channel
YouTube.com/BetTheSpread.
You know it. Nationals taking that division.